Now, because it's good you mentioned that, and that will bring me to the principal instrument that marks out the National Assembly from the other arms of government, which is the power of appropriation.
Absolutely.
As put forward in the budget. The budget has now been passed by the two chambers, but it took so long. It did the same thing last year. It took so long, I mean. Now, there are these arguments back and forth. The National Assembly accuses MDAs of refusing to come forward and defend the estimates, have a wholesale discussion over the figures and the line items you mentioned. Some of them appearing in previous budgets and the National Assembly asking for details as to how far and all that. On the other hand, the executive says they are reluctant to come forward because more often than not, members of the National Assembly use that as a cover to demand for different types of gratification, not necessarily money, but different types of gratification, and that's why they stay away. Now, at the end of the day, whoever may be right or wrong, the budget suffers in terms of how long it takes, and then the people suffer because the expected development doesn't take place. First of all, you're a member of the National Assembly, and as a result, you're a member of several committees. Is it true that there are these back and forths as to whether or not what is the reason why these people are being invited and why they are not coming?
You know, one thing I can confirm from my personal experience as a member of the Appropriation Committee is that the budget season is not adhered to strictly. And so you see a lot of knock-on effects. And I'll give you one example. The budget season is supposed to start from the end of the third quarter. So we go into the medium-term expenditure framework, which outlines government spending plan, the plans for the next 3 years. And from there, we draw up the budget from the MDAs and present it to the National Assembly for proper, oversight and then appropriation. That's what the budget season should be. Now, you start late. Let's take 2017. You start implementation from, let's say, August. And so you see that by the time you're supposed to bring the budget of the next season, you have perhaps, in terms of performance of the previous budget, you are 10%, 15%. It is difficult to run and chew gum at the same time. It's just a few people that have that capacity to be able to run and chew gum. And you know the way that the people in charge, evolve in Nigeria. So you see capacity issues. There are challenges in terms of being able to deliver on the implementation and forecasting for the expenditure for the next year.
Right.
I think that if we need a holistic approach to review the entire budgeting, we will probably be having to go back to amend the Constitution. And you know what that means. But really and truly, as a member of the appropriation, what I have seen is that if we can get the National Assembly involved from when the envelopes are being populated, before they come in, it can save us 50% of the time. So that we already are conversant. We represent the people. There's 774 local governments in Nigeria, and every one of them has somebody in the National Assembly in the two chambers representing them. If that system, where the envelope is coming from the executive, has our participation and our input, I think that all this back and forth, if I, for instance, have gone back to consult with my constituency and they have determined that a water project or a health center is important, and by the time it's coming, when it's before the committee, I will go first of all to ensure that this health center is being captured. And then every other member is checking to ensure that, and then the executive would obviously make their inputs, and you'll see that the time will be, I believe it will have the time that it takes. These other issues about going back and forth, unfortunately, I think they're the bureaucracy of governance. I think that if we really want to cut the time, we should involve the National Assembly from the development of the projects, and also we should obviously work at a better, with a better handshake between the executive and the Assembly.
Now, having said that much, that brings me to something else, which sometimes is also the bone of contention, the issue of remuneration. The National Assembly is set to consume various percentages of the budget and all that, and that the members, both the senators and the honorables like yourself, get paid large sums of money. Only a couple of weeks ago, Senator Shehu Sani revealed that of the Senate. But the question that most people ask is there a logic to this? Because some of the members of the National Assembly have sought to defend themselves to say, look, most of this money is not coming to our personal pockets. They are assigned for specific purposes. So if you hear figures in the millions, it's not that that's our salary. In the case of the senators, the salary is $750,000. Whatever else there is billed for specific purposes. Is that the same in the House?
It is absolutely the same. And one thing I really need to stress is that some of these numbers are not rocket science. I mean, the budget, the entire budget of the National Assembly and all its organs, as at last year, was 115?
Yes. 115.
There are 360 members, 109 senators. There are every one of those legislators have aides and assistants assigned to them. There are different organs, the National Assembly Service Commission, the Institute of Legislative Studies, all of those things, there's maintenance, there's everything all tied up into that one budget. If you do a straight line calculation, you would actually be arguing that the National Assembly is underfunded. And I want to say that if it was in my powers, I would make sure that the National Assembly is properly funded. But having said that, the question you ask speaks to the lopsidedness or the weight, the heavy weight of our recurring expenditure in our budget in Nigeria. We have proliferation of agencies. We're top heavy. We have to really look at the way we're running and the cost of governance and see what we can do to bring it down. But I can tell you it's not going to start from the National Assembly because we do not get all the funds that we require. You don't run an election, so you probably don't know what we see. Do you know that, as far as I'm concerned, I represent the social system in my constituency? Everybody that has anything, any kind of bereavement, any kind of celebration, any kind of financial assistance, oh, call your honorable member. Oh, call your honorable member. Where do we get these monies from? It is the monies that you have provided that we should specifically use to take care of certain things that you know will come with the office. It's just like being a minister today. You are entitled to X amount of cars. You are entitled to have an outrider, a Hilux van in front of you, 2 SUVs and all of that. But when it comes to the National Assembly, suddenly you say, oh, the cost of governance, buy them Peugeots. They don't need this.
Is that a perception problem then? Maybe the National Assembly itself is not putting forth this argument as effectively as the other arms of government who are not receiving the kind of bashing that the National Assembly is receiving.
I think we have actually put this forth enough times, but I also think that the legislature is the one that is closest to the people. And so in anything, anytime there is a threat to democracy, the first institution that will be attacked will be the legislature. If there was to be martial music today in Nigeria, the first organ of government that would be scrapped would be the National Assembly. The same thing, there are these people you just love to hate. But I tell you, the legislator is your friend.
Yeah, but because I was going to say, yeah, if they are the people you love to hate, why did you choose to be one? Well, you could have gone into the executive arm of government.
You know, that's a very interesting question. And I tell you this, I think that more serious-minded people, more technocrats, more business people should get involved in governance. I think that leaving governance to just anyone is why we're where we are today. Because you take a look at capacity. We need people that have proven track record. We need to ask questions. Who are you? What were you 10 years ago? We don't want some money bag just jumping into politics, spending and grabbing the ticket of maybe a governor or a senator or a House of Rep member. We need to know who these people are. And I think that we need more people like me to put their foot forward and come. And I look forward to the day that I'll be seeing you
in the National Assembly.
Correct.
Well, maybe that day will still come. But let me also take you in another direction. When this government took over power, I'm talking nationally now, there were three essential things that it said it would tackle. Insecurity, Boko Haram, kidnappings, all these other issues. It talked about the war against corruption, and then it talked about the economy. First, on insecurity. It would appear as if since it took over, things have kind of snowballed. We're no longer dealing just with Boko Haram in the northeast. There's a lot else that is happening, even in the southeast where you're from. Do you think they've tried?
Well, let me take you on the southeast. There's nothing new happening in the southeast apart from the IPOB agitation. Now, generally speaking about the rest of the country and security, I think...
I'm sorry, I have to cut you in here when you said nothing new is happening.
Yes, I mean, in terms of security, we've always had, if you want to say, kidnapping, armed robbery.
Yes.
There's nothing new. I wouldn't want to add this Southeast as one of... We have to be serious about the Fulani herdsmen farmers clashes, the Boko Haram insurgency, and bigger ticket security issues that we have. We've always had security challenges in Nigeria. Nothing new. I mean, kidnapping has been here since I was a toddler. But, like you rightly said in your question, since this administration took over, it has snowballed, it has exploded, it has become a norm where every day you read about 40 people dead, 20 people dead, 10 people dead, to the point where we have become insensitive. It's like, it's normal. But one Nigerian life is the most precious, the fundamental thing that a government is meant to deliver.